Nancy Pelosi and all the rat demons, evil satanic demons that swirl around her to take a picture of that fake impeachment tool that they use. It's called, in Title 18, the instrument, falsified instrument, where she in her black cloak, I'm not joking, black cloak with everybody circling around this. They put the coup tool, the satanic ritualistic tool, just think of it in a pentagram with all the people around circling it, filming it and putting the spotlight on this tool while she sits there with her black clothing and her dark hair like a freaking matriarch of evil, which she is. She just backed herself into a corner. Because essentially they tried my commander in absentia for felonies without any due process of law, without nothing filed, and misused the 25th Amendment as if they have the right to misuse it, and try to spin the verbiage of what is the legal term of incapacitation. Even I know that in wills, trust, and probate, which I got an A in all my paralegal courses on the president's list and dean's list. The incapacitation is when you're like in a coma. You can't speak, you can't walk, you can't talk. That is incapacitation according to the law. And they use it in wills. There's only one definition of that. That lawyer, or whoever he was lying, because he knows people with peripheral brain processing. The masses have that. Usually the investigators have central route brain processing, and we all question. Point is they know the masses will buy anything if it comes from lawyers who are lying or judges that are lying. The public will believe it. But they know if they're watching me that I'm telling the truth. They back themselves into a corner. Why? Nowhere in this country, except for the people that committed deep state slavery on me for 20 years, the judges and the criminals who've been doing it to me, and that's how I learned, having been denied a public defender and a jury by the judge, and I bet you any money he hates the day he made me to become my own attorney of record after I've been through investigative school, trained by the top 10th investigator of the United States, Brandon Perrin and his brother Brad, for forensics. Yes, I was forced to do my own case. While no arresting officer was there, so it should have been dismissed. But they held a fiction ambush trial, and that's the legal definition for what exactly Nancy Pelosi did and all those coup d'etat people, sedition, treasonous bastards did to my commander-in-chief today, calling it a mob. Oh, the mob, and this angry mob, and the mob. Really? The mob. Did you get a look at the eye color of the mob? Each person. Did you do their background check? Before you falsely accused my commander-in-chief, you needed to know, Pelosi and the demons, who those alleged mobsters were hired by. Why didn't you bring those facts? So you just whipped together this thing, and imagine the news is saying, oh, she did this real fast. Of course, all criminals and fraudsters do things fast. They do when they have to trick you. They want it real fast so nobody knows. But statute of limitations on these crimes on my commander-in-chief last forever. And she backed herself into a corner, and so did they. Because now, in the fake impeachment that they want so bad trial, all these mobsters are going to be subpoenaed to give their testimony on who they are, who they're affiliated with, and who hired them. They're going to get caught. It's going to show who hired them. There's so many. And so they're tracking them all down, which, hey, they have to be held accountable and arrested. And, well, now we've got an open case as Nancy Pelosi wanted it. Let's impeach. So now they've got this open thing, just like my perpetrators did when they kidnapped me under color of law, and for 2 months there were no charges at all, and they rubber stamped, literally backdated, rubber stamped. You won't find any mugshot of me from the first fake arrest ever in the city jail because there was none. There was no paperwork. They shipped me to another place with no paperwork and then started the whole process at the second place, and they didn't have the probable cause affidavit for 2 months. And then backdated, rubber stamped everything. But there's still no paperwork for the first place I was kidnapped into. Nor could there be. So that it was a kidnapping. But that's beside the point. Here's what I'm saying to you. In law, there is procedure and there's constitutional rights. You must be able to face your accusers. Where was President Trump to face this alleged 25th Amendment fraud? They misused the constitutional amendment to do a coup d'etat and sedition. Where was my commander-in-chief? How come he couldn't be there to face his freaked up accusers, all of them standing there like the little satanic demons that they are? Oh, the mob, and there was an angry mob, and there was a mob. Really? Because investigators, like I was trained, want to know who each person was. Where are your facts to substantiate that there was a mob? You better have every person. And you better know where they came from and who hired them. Well, why didn't they bring that out? Why not? Because they had to rush it all through and get it all done and hurry up and sign and do the stalking and that's called organized stalking, MK Ultra. It's smear tactics and smear campaign and all the shit that goes with it that I've been through over and 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 over, and I keep going through the attempts and the bullshit. Unfortunately, my perpetrators knew that I was winning a federal tort claim on all that bullshit. I survived it all and didn't become they wanted me to be a prostitute and traffic me, but I refused. I did. I slept homeless on the ground and went to the labor pool daily at 5 a.m. I would walk there miles sometimes, take buses, whatever I could do to get to where I had to go to even make $40 for the day. Yes. If I was put out for the day to demolish buildings. I'm not joking. You can see me in pictures doing that. Very hard working. I'm a paralegal. I was supposed to be a civil rights attorney in 2015, but my deep state, who are the same as President Trump's deep state, who are doing this to him only because they don't want my case of habeas corpus for him to see it, and they want to get him out and let me write to be subjected to all the freaking corrupt judges that he just went through. Well, I'm not going to do that. That's not happening. So now what does he do? He gets to do like I did. When you do an appeal, and when you're falsely arrested and you do an appeal, you can do what's known as a perpetuation of testimony and subpoena all those people that the police officer didn't, he wasn't at trial, they should have dismissed, they didn't. They held a phony bench trial. I was not given a jury. I made a separate demand. That's a crime. They've never even given me a probable cause hearing and all this stuff. So the executive branch has me like this in slavery, thinking they could snatch anytime they want. They keep trying because the judge never really had in personam or subject matter jurisdiction over my person or subject matter, because I've never been in first appearance, so then they kept spending years trying to snatch me, and the only way they could cover up their crimes was to use my babies in utero to pretend they didn't exist and falsify records after the diagnosis of pregnancy and literally falsify my DNA. I'm not joking. On paper it says final result edited in the kidnapping, where I was also diagnosed as pregnant in the kidnapping from a doctor who didn't want to participate. Okay, years later, and my deep state players spent how many years trying to get me to have sex with men, which I wouldn't. Only the man I loved years ago, and then they used him to facilitate their crimes. Once I was pregnant, he just abandoned me and let all this stuff happen for them. And then they falsified all kinds of records before and during the kidnapping and after, which I have all those records, like thousands of copies. I do. And they put falsities in the record. She's crazy. Oh, it's a Baker Act. Really? If it was a Baker Act, then why didn't you have if I was held 5 days and the third day they had to form a probate case and go before court, the head administrator had to swear out an affidavit of the whole place. It was a 3-tier kidnapping, 3 different places to hide me. And it wasn't even a mental institution. It was a fake room. And they changed my birth date to 11/11/1900. I have all this stuff. Anybody wants to see it, you're welcome to see it. I've put it all over the internet, pictures of it. I was at Facebook for years. It's been up. Anyway, so they tried to snatch my babies out of me. That's how far they go. To try to make me look crazy like I never had babies. That's how far they were going. That's how far they went. They did murder one baby of 6. I have 5 left. They tried to snatch the other 5, they darkened the ultrasound picture on 2 of them, marked them with X's, but you could see the remaining 3 babies. How freaking stupid. And then you get the ultrasound woman calling my uterus, oh, your uterus is only 3 by 4 centimeters. That's your uterus. As she shrunk the babies to little dots and darkened them to 2. That girl was great. When the perpetrators commit these crimes, the deep state, they drug the people, and most of the people that do commit the crimes in organized stalking for the deep state are drug addicts, alcoholics. They have some kind of substance abuse. Because in order for the deep state to affect their mind, to program their brain, which can be done, and turn their brain like a light switch on and off, Jekyll and Hyde, to commit the crimes and really believe themselves. Like you see in the impeachment, they all believe themselves, and this angry mob was hired by, Trump called them in. And the expression on their face. I used to be an actress before the military and a singer, so I can act how they were to give you the Jekyll Hyde. When they go home at night, they know very well President Trump did not call those people to do crimes to the Capitol. They go to bed and take off their expensive shoes and drink some more of their bullshit wine or whatever they're doing to keep their brains from thinking about the crimes they really did to our president and to me, my perpetrators, who were hired by the same deep state. And they really believe themselves. They do. So Nancy Pelosi's sitting there in her concocted scheme, signing this thing in her black cloak. And she looks like she was like what's it called? In satanic people and witchcraft. That's how she looked. That's what they are. And the circle around her, and they put this tool instrument up on a pedestal, and everybody's snapping pictures of it in the spotlight. Can you freaking... This is real stuff. This is real satanic stuff. It is the same thing that they were doing in the kidnapped slavery of me when they kidnapped me pregnant. You wouldn't believe the Satan crimes that were done. It's in the records, and it's in my testimony. But anyway, and it's in everybody else's testimony, the eyewitness, the kidnapping. But anyway, so the point is they are the same deep state players. They are... they do the same 13 skits, whether it be MK Ultra or organized stalking. They are the same exact crimes that are done. It's just that the military calls it the word MK Ultra, and in civilian life it's called organized stalking. But it is the same exact smear tactics, taking your person under color of law, meaning fake crap, whether it be fake, bake, correct. Let's all say they're crazy. Then we can wipe out their testimony forever and whatever they testified in. That's why they wanted to say I was crazy, that allegedly I had no babies in me, so that they could say in my federal tort claim that was happening at the time, and the Justice Department knew I would serve the DOD and was ready to file in federal court when they did this to me and my babies. Oh, because once they book you crazy, you can't ever testify into anything. But see, they don't get that far with me because I'm well trained. For every little fucking thing they do, I pick it apart. I'm talking if there's a hair from a copy machine, I will find it. So in this, Nancy Pelosi backed herself into a corner. And criminals with the criminal mind, they always do back themselves into a corner because they're so involved in their high. It's kind of sad. They're so involved in their high and demonic. When people are demonically possessed, because I'm a spiritual person, I love Jesus Christ and God, and I have my family members that took part in this upon me were possessed at the time they did it with the people that were doing it that were possessed and that had done all the crimes on me, but especially the kidnapping of me and these babies under color of law. One of them sounded like a monster. Like literally, you'd have thought you were watching a scary movie. It was a doctor. we're just trying to help you with the eyes and the weird. And so what I did was I mirrored her back. Oh, okay. And them being so lost in their demon possession, because that's what it is. It really is. And I'm sure they practice witchcraft, because you can't be that demon possessed and not practice some form of witchcraft or be subject to Satan. Because if you were part of God, nobody acts like that. Nobody does what's being done if they are of God. They don't. So in that, it kind of captures their demonic possession at the moment, and they are lost in it, and they believe themselves because they're not who they really are. They're demon possessed. There's a demon in them. You can see it. So just like I saw tonight, where the reporters were circling around this instrument, this falsified instrument, which in violation of Title 18 is a huge crime. Huge crime. Just look it up. Falsified instruments and attempts. Title 18, Section 1349 of the U.S. Code. I believe that's it. I think falsified instruments is with attempts, but I'm not sure. It might be another subsection. I might stand corrected on that. I'm not perfect, I'm not, like, far from it. My point is that when they get into that kind of frenzy, and you could see it, I could see it, I'm very spiritual, I could see, and I knew one other person put a like as I described it when I watched them circle this instrument that was on a podium platform where Nancy Pelosi had just signed it and left the chair bare, and so that people could go around and take pictures. She was like the demonic matriarch, and you could just see it like a scary movie or something. It reminded me of what the same demon possession was in the kidnappings with my kidnappers, really believing themselves. And one of them even said to me, "Oh, and now you think you have 5 babies in you." Everybody can see the 5 babies. Go to my Facebook and Twitter accounts, Caprice Nicolette Manos. Twitter just canceled one of my accounts because they're trying to hide everything in case anybody looking at my case sees the hard evidence. So I upped another one real fast called at Manos Caprice, I guess they put it, and I just put the pictures of the babies. You have to enlarge it. That's my cover photo. They're kind of circled in yellow with the red lettering saying, "Kiss mine and the baby's ass, perps." Okay. So my point is here that Nancy Pelosi really just backed herself into a corner. Just like those people did when I had to do an appeal and all the fake crap, and then I subpoenaed everybody to testify that didn't show to trial, and the state put on dummy witnesses to have me cross-examine. I had to cross-examine I had to cross-examine people that knew nothing, had no facts about the case. They weren't even there. I had no personal knowledge of the actual facts that took place in the moments that my person was taken. So could you imagine me trying to cross-examine people that were just up there lying? And so they gave a false judgment. And I learned that attorney who did that, she was only a 1.5 year attorney. She was brand new, a novice. She wanted to get her little notches in the belt for her wins in this dirty county. It's true. So she did a sacrifice of me and put me in slavery, full well knowing that there was no arresting officer at the trial, no false arresting officer. And she made the statement, "Oh, but Judge, there's no arresting officer. He is not here today." As if anyone, and the judge says, "No, we're going to continue on." Big crime, conspiracy against rights of citizens, deprivation of rights under color of law. No attorney for me, no public defender, no jury trial, no nothing. And I made only you can waive your public defender and jury trial if you write it that you're waiving it, but I didn't. I made a separate demand so that nobody could mistake that. I demanded it. You know what they did to me? They sent me to another office, and the lady there knew what was happening to me. They were like, the clerks of the court were like playing with me. I said, "Well, how do I get a jury trial? I need to voir dire." I didn't know the term at the time because I hadn't been through paralegal school. I was only an investigator at that point. So even if you're an investigator, you don't necessarily know the terms that lawyers know or paralegals know. And I went on to put myself through school later, and psychology school, so I can not only be prepared for the crimes that would take place upon me, I knew they were going to kidnap me under color of law to try to say I was crazy, to bury all the other shit done to me for years, so I was kind of prepared. How was I prepared? And this goes to showing how the demonic possession will cause anyone to do anything if they're not into God and they are demonically possessed doing crimes like this woman who was not a doctor. They put a lab coat on her and she pretended to be a psychologist, and she started trying to do a mental eval on me. So what I did was I tricked her in that kidnapping. I said, I will only answer, I am respectfully declining to answer under the Fifth Amendment right of Steele versus Smith, where they falsely charged this woman with crimes and tried to call her crazy, and she sat there and said nothing, the Fifth Amendment, and she won her case because they were mad that the woman said nothing. And the Supreme Court came back and said, well, you could see if a woman, you could see by her actions, she's just sitting there. She's not hanging off the chandelier or anything. She shouldn't have to say anything. That was Steele versus Smith. So I used that. I said, well, I will only answer factual questions. I set her up. Because when people do crimes to this magnitude, like Nancy Pelosi is not a lawyer, and they use her because she doesn't have a bar license to lose. So they use her as the pawn to do all the evil. When they commit their crimes to that magnitude and they don't know any law or anything, they think that, well, they even wrote that I was never a record company owner, and you can see all my company article, you can see them in sunbiz.org. They put down that I was never in the military, that I'm delusional for thinking I was in. I went to war. I have thousands of records and orders, and so when they get nuts like that, like legitimately psychopathic crazy to where they don't care who sees them in their demonic possession doing the act, they're lost in the demonic possession. They're not really thinking about, is somebody going to catch me? They've been offered too much money, usually millions, $1 million, millions, $500,000, 10 grand, depending on the level of what they've got to do to commit the crime. I'm not joking. Deep State pays them. Anyway, so this woman put on a lab coat, and I would only answer factual questions, and all that I answered were nothing that could be a gray area. It was all black and white facts, right? So when she arrived at a question, I just stayed silent, a question I wouldn't answer, and then she'd go to the next question. Did you ever have any education, blah, blah, blah? Yes, I did. Here's where I went. And she said, oh, she wrote down, she wasn't even a psychologist. She committed unlicensed practice of medicine in the kidnappings, put a lab coat on herself, came from another place into where I was being kidnapped in a room, and did that. That's how sick. There was another person that did that as well to initiate the kidnappings, called himself a doctor, and he wasn't a doctor. That's how they really get, they believe themselves, though. At the time that they're doing it, they're so possessed, or maybe drugged, maybe scopolamine, I don't know, that they will just do anything that they're programmed to do. And yes, they're programmed. And I don't want to have to go into how they're programmed, but they do get programmed. So anyway, I only answered factual questions, and in every single factual question that she did in the kidnapping, I later, when I got out of the kidnapping, by the grace of God and a good psychologist who said, I know there's nothing wrong with you mentally, and I know you are pregnant, I'm going to get you out of here. And he did. He did. He was really scared they would snatch me again. He had me hurry and flee in a cab. He was really scared for me, but he saved me and these babies. He really did. And God in heaven and Jesus Christ and my father, who passed away right before that incident. Anyway, and I won't go into how he passed away, because no, it was not a natural death. So anyway, and he happened to have been, my dad, one of the key eyewitnesses in one of the crimes done to me in the military. So, and he happened to be one who saved me after another brutal kidnapping on me. He called up the Charlie Crist, Attorney General in Florida at the time, Victims Unit, Mr. Doss, helped me and my dad. And of course, nobody wants that to come out, that, there was actually proof that this stuff went on, and people did help me and my dad. Went on for years, the repeat kidnappings, the attempts still go on, but the thing is in all that they do, know that Nancy Pelosi and her gang have backed themselves into a corner, and there's really nothing they can do about it now. Why? Because President Trump, even if it's a fake impeachment, just like I had a fake appeal I had to do that wasn't real. It's not real. It's all fake. It's farce. It is slavery. It's called unlawful constructive custody. Constructive meaning they've got you by the balls, but it's all fake. It's constructive. It's the appearance of, under color of the law, under the color that it looks like it's real under law, but it's not. That's where the term under color of law comes from. So when I did subpoena the people for perpetuation of testimony in the appellate stage, back then, the judge would not even allow anyone to testify. So it was a waste of my money to pay people to arrive at the subpoenas, because you have to pay them for their time. It was unlawful, another violation of due process and equal protection, that I was not allowed to get testimony from the original parties that were told not to show up to trial, and they still held trial and put me in slavery, fake probation, fake, completely fake. I'm still in slavery. I am. All this stuff. But anyway, and President Trump is too. He is. I mean, to do this to somebody is enslaving the person. To take somebody and put false stuff on them, and they have to spend years and years and years getting out of the false stuff, and just when you think you're out of it, they pummel you with more, because right when you're ready to prove that you didn't do something, they'll pummel you with more. That's the way of the deep state, and it is within the 13 skits. It is their general way they keep you enslaved. It is slavery in violation of the 13th Amendment, because the 13th Amendment states all forms of slavery, all of them, shall not be allowed, all forms. And to do this to a person is a form of slavery, to keep them held under color of law for years and years and years and years and years. So, I want everybody to know, no matter what, President Trump does have a light at the end of the tunnel with this fake impeachment, that it shall end, possibly. We can't help that Biden is being falsely sworn in. That's fraud. With the fraud, I even have a fake ballot. I'm not joking. It's the same fake ballot another girl got when Sidney Powell was having her testify and everything. She was holding it up. I got the same one. My mother got one in the junk mail. So we didn't request those. We went in person. We wanted to vote in person. So I didn't even get a receipt saying where I could check to see if my vote went through. I didn't get any receipt. All I saw was people online saying they got this receipt where they could validate their vote, and I never got that. Anyway, so that being said, God always finds a way, and perpetrators always get caught when they seek to deceive, and they do things